these are really nice solutions for this assignment, self-portrait. Okay, and we see that these are like really different. There are lots of grays actually used in both of these, but you see that in terms of quality of shapes and also composition, they're really different. You could say that the dominant idea here in these two especially is that a lot of shapes suggest a movement or direction towards the center, whereas here, you know, it's a square composition, so it's kind of hard to escape the center, but it's possible. So this one is a little bit different, as you can see. There's a movement here that kind of almost suggests the direction, yes, across to some degree, across the center, but from one edge, from one corner on the top towards the bottom. And I think the sides are a little bit more emphasized here, whereas here a lot of shapes create a really beautiful containment that surrounds the central area, and then these triangles point to the center. This is quite interesting, the way the shapes are pulsating. Okay, so this is a really beautiful suggestion of movement within the shapes, just because they are being repeated. And the colors are kind of reverberating from really warm yellows and brighter shapes, lighter shapes towards a little bit darker with more red. Here that happens with greens. So that's a really nice, very interesting twist on how to fill in shapes, yes, or the use of shapes, which is completely different than here. That containment is quite interesting because we are talking here about abstraction. We want to create abstract works that express your emotional state on that particular day that you start making that design. And you, yes, of course, you use colors, predominantly colors that you find in your clothes on you that day or that you wear. So you want to keep this abstract, and it's quite interesting that there's kind of implied shape of the oval of the face or face. And of course we don't see it, but our brain has this tendency to start seeing things that we are suggested of. So that's what is happening here. It's really interesting, but of course when we stare at it a little bit longer, then we start seeing it's falling apart and it comes together again. So I think that work in this regard is extremely exciting. And you see that these all three works express really different emotional state and content, and that's what excites me about this particular assignment, to see how you emotionally respond to color, still making sure that the design is working, yes, that there is some degree of balance that you create with color shapes, with their distribution. You create groupings, containment, you're balancing one side of the picture plane with another. You know, sometimes it's extremely colorful, exciting, and extremely energetic, like here, where everything colors in the middle. We still have pretty strong figure-ground relationship here expressed, with that background consisting of larger shapes. In the background there are a lot of muted colors consisting of large gray shapes. These are also muted colors, some type of tint, not that much contrast on the back, and then foreground consisting of shapes in much more, this is more vibrant colors with more contrast. They all pop, and so that push and pull effect figure-ground relationship, creates movement, but also it sets some type of design hierarchy. So you can see here that this is definitely 11 by 11 inches. There was initially a square ruled out with a pencil, and all these shapes are aligned to the very edge of that square that was ruled out, and it was 9 by 9 inches. So then you end up with 1 inch of a border. There shouldn't be any whiteness of the paper visible between the cutout shapes. So in order to avoid that, and also to really make it as a process of making much more efficient, there's really no need to cut out shapes, and when you glue on paper, trying to cut them in such a way that they will fit like puzzles, and then hopefully you will end up with not having any gaps. Most likely you will end up with having gaps, and those white gaps will show, and it won't look craftsmanship wise good. Now you want to first cover up larger spaces of white, and then start gluing on top of these shapes that were previously glued, those large shapes. On top of these, you might want to start gluing smaller shapes. You can create a lot of overlap then very easily, and not worrying about white showing through or in between these shapes. There's no way for this to happen. So it's a very similar thing here. These shapes are progressively getting smaller. Basically, the initial shape that was cut out here is actually the entire large shapes of red here. And then on top of this, smaller, progressively smaller shapes of different colors were glued on top. Okay, you cannot see this in videos and images that I posted for you on BlazeView, but definitely there is a little bit of texture to the touch.